Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Wealthy Dentist Podcast. I'm your host, Ward Powell. And if you're a dentist looking to crack the code on how to grow your practice and dominate in this space, then stick around. You're in the right place. Every week, we're sitting down with some amazing dentists who are doing incredible things in their businesses. We're talking about everything from how they keep their teams loyal and dedicated to how they stay ahead of the game in this crazy, fast-changing industry. You'll hear about hacks like using virtual assistants to free up your time, strategies to make more sales with less effort, and even mind-blowing stories about patents and inventions that are changing the industry as we know it. And it's not just about growing your practice, it's also about finding out what works from a clinical perspective. Whether you're just starting or you're ready to scale to the next level, there's something here for you. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive in. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome a wonderful, wonderful person, Dina Eisenberg, to our platform today, the Wealthy Dentist Podcast, who's going to share with us from a different perspective what dentists need to know about behavioral matters inside the office. So Dina, thank you for joining us today. I want to first congratulate you in so many ways for identifying something so long ago that a lot of us never really paid attention to it. And there's so many people in different cultures just feel that that's not something that they want to get involved with. This is a touchy topic. And without further ado, I'm going to allow you to first introduce yourself and tell us what got you interested in focusing on dentists and how people behave inside the office.
Well, first I have to say thank you so much, Ward, for inviting me to join the podcast. I've enjoyed your podcast before, and I feel kind of honored to join the family, so thanks. For those who don't know me, my name is Dina Lynch Eisenberg. I'm an attorney and a certified organizational ombuds. Now, somebody's saying, what the heck is that? Right. No idea. So let me just briefly explain what that is, and then I'll talk to you a little bit more about my background and how I came to dentistry. So an organizational ombuds is a conflict management expert. Some folks are lawyers like me, some folks are not. Our goal is really to work with an organization in twofold, two roles. One, we're working with the employee community to help them learn how to navigate conflicts and disputes internally amongst themselves, but sometimes also with patients. And then we're working with the doctor owners or practice leaders to really understand what's going on in their practice that they might not be aware of, those hidden issues that pop up at unexpected and unwelcome times to cause havoc in the practice. So we're helping them identify those issues and then put in systems in place to resolve any conflicts that are coming from those issues. So that's what an organizational ombuds does. I'll just jokingly tell you what my son used to call me when he was 10. He used to say that I was the mom for grown-ups. And I kind of like that still, because he would say, well, when you get to a place where you don't know what to do, you go to see my mom and she helps you figure it out. And that is still true. That's what I do with practice owners today. I came to dentistry in kind of a roundabout route. I started my legal career in healthcare. Part of my work was holding doctors accountable for misconduct, typically sexual misconduct. And the victims that I worked with were crushed by the experience they had. And what I learned from that was that they really needed someone to walk them through being in a conflict situation so they could feel empowered and confident to ask for the things they need. And so I love doing that work, but as you can imagine, it's pretty taxing on me personally, both in my health and mentally. But I still wanted to help people like navigate conflict. So I started doing business mediations, and that led me to ombuds work, where I was the ombuds for Bank of America, Berklee College of Music,
Hmm.
and most recently I was the global head of ombud services for Twitter. Now you're thinking, well, how did all that equate to dentistry? The connection is that dentists and lawyers have a very, very similar educational journey. It's a difficult position to start. When you go to law school and dental school, it's competitive. Nobody's your friend. You have a lot of work to do. And really, the purpose is to make you a good technician so you understand the practice. But they don't really teach you anything about running a business, and they certainly don't teach you anything about leading people or dealing with clients' emotions. And that's where we all get stuck. So I could see that as a lawyer who'd become an ombuds, an expert in conflict, that I could help dentists get over that hump, that feeling awkward about holding people accountable, feeling uncomfortable about getting in the midst of conflicts on their team, and teach them that they're really going to be and should be the leader of that community. It doesn't have to be hard. It can be very simple if you're willing to be intentional about learning some skills. So that's how I came to it.
That is so wonderful. And you know, children, they can be so so straightforward with you, you know, like they let you know whether you like it or not, this is what it looks like, you know? Oh man, you talking about transparency. That's why I just love children for that reason, mainly because they're going to give it to you straight.
Yep, whether you like it or not.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So, how many years has it been since you left corporate and then started your business with dealing with dentists?
I've been in the organizational ombuds business for 29 years. Next year will be my big 30 year. I've
That's
had
one.
the pleasure of working across all kinds of industries from healthcare to tech to manufacturing to consumer products. And each industry that I've been in has given me a little nugget of information that I can use with all the other industries I interact with. So now with dentists, I'm bringing all that background and all those tools that I've used to help other industries succeed around conflict to the dental industry.
You know, that's interesting because, see, what I wanted to find out too is, you know, with your experience with all these different corporations, and then you go into working with dentists, I mean, like, is there some type of similarity of behavior matters that you deal with on a regular that throughout, you know, is it similar? I mean, I would think so just off the top of my head, but I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
I think you're absolutely right. There are similarities across those. And in the one similarity in all those instances is that leaders have trouble communicating and they have trouble communicating through conflict, right?
Mm, hmm.
You know, if you think about the way we're all raised, right? When you're a small kid and you go to school, what's the first thing that your mom tells you besides wear clean underwear?
Be nice. Listen to your teacher. Don't come back here with no bad grades.
Right, that's right. She
You know,
says if anybody bothers you or wants to fight with you, you're supposed to tell the teacher, right? From a very young age, we are instructed that we're not supposed to handle conflicts on our own. We're supposed to turn to somebody else. So, what happens when you get to be the adult and you're the somebody else that other people are looking to turn to?
take
And
matters
you
in your
don't
own
have those
hands.
skills in place,
That's right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then you are stressed. You are trying to avoid the conversation as
Wow.
much as you possibly can. You are
Yeah.
hoping things will blow over.
Right.
Fingers crossed,
Right. I
but they
never
don't
thought
blow
of
over.
it like that.
They don't. I know a lot of times people think, oh, time will heal this. They'll get over it. Over a couple of weeks, things will settle down. And I understand that perspective because it's wishful thinking.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Well
the truth of the
said.
matter is, if you do not take care of conflict issues in your practice. What you're telling your team is, you are not safe. I will not protect you if something happens.
Mm,
You are on your own. You better watch your own back. And
mm,
for them, that means I better pay attention to me, not clients.
mm,
And
mm,
that's definitely not what you want when you're trying to grow a very successful practice and attract top patients, right?
mm,
Patients want to come to a practice where they feel comfortable because they're already a little anxious coming to the dentist, let's be honest.
mm.
They want to get there and feel comfortable and cared for. And when they show up in a practice where people aren't getting along, there's a little snipping, there's some backbiting, that doesn't go unnoticed. They sense that, and then they start to question whether or not this is the right place for them.
Mhm, mhm.
So, being more skilled in conflict really allows the dentist to give both their patients and their team a better experience.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. I mean, like if you're not experienced in that, I mean, it's like a dead bird in a nest, so to speak. I mean, they never get a chance to fly, you know? So if you are not in communication with somebody that understands how to quote unquote fly, then
Yeah.
you're lost, and you're going to be struggling for a long time to figure out what it is that you need to do. And bringing somebody in that has the expertise as you would have, I mean, would make, I'm sure, life a lot easier and a lot better.
It does make life a lot easier in your practice. And here's a secret thing that I love that comes from my work, which is not only am I able to help the dentist and his team improve their communication and conflict skills at work, but all those skills still work at home,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if you're having difficulties with your teenager or
Mm.
with your spouse, you can use the same skills that you're using at work to resolve issues at home.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's so important. I don't know how many times I've read some pieces that had to do with what are you learning here? Well, you can take this home with you and really using it because it's gonna work. You know, that's wonderful when you're able to take what you've learned at work and apply it at home, and then teach, not only just apply it, but teach it at home so that they
Right?
in fact can like engage with you on some of the skills that you've learned.
Absolutely. And kids are the greatest conflict resolvers. They don't do it like adults for sure. I mean, it's not as polished and the words don't come out as nicely, but they get the concept right away and they are good at it. So here you are using the skills at work, you're using the skills at home, and you're teaching your kids to be a lot more confident around conflict and be able to advocate for themselves. And who doesn't want that?
Understood. So give me some examples of some of the issues that you've had to come in and resolve, uh, and some that you have been so good at resolving, and some that have maybe given you a bit of a challenge.
Okay, two come to mind right away. So one of the things I help dental practice leaders with all the time is giving feedback. It's very hard to tell someone you see every day when you have an issue with them because let's face it, when you're the dentist, your team is there supporting your dream. They're actually making your dream come true. They're helping you build that practice that you wanted, right? So it feels weird to turn around and say, I don't like the way you do this, or I want you to do this differently, or you can't do that anymore.
Hmm.
There's a fear, I think, on the practice leader's part that I'm going to say something that makes this person mad with me and they're going to
Hmm.
quit. They're
Hmm.
not going to like me anymore and they're just not going to be as engaged. And that's true. Some people will do that. But you can't let it stop you. You have to be the one responsible for setting the tone. So I worked with this one dentist, and he had a, let's say, seasoned or veteran teammate. And she had a very specific way of doing things. And when they got a newer teammate, a DA, who didn't do things the way that she liked, she just sort of beat this person about the head, figuratively speaking, like, always questioning them, always saying they were not doing it right. And, the new employee was like, I'm unhappy. Seems like I can never do anything right. And it was really up to the dentist to step in and say, hey, we got to manage this differently, right? So I was coaching him on a couple things. One, why are you afraid to approach this employee about the situation with the newer employee and how you'd like it to be handled? And so we really had to dig into his beliefs around what he's supposed to be doing as a leader, how he wants to relate to the people on his team. And he was really stuck because this was someone who, from day one of his practice, had been there for him. They'd seen him through a lot of trials and tribulations in growing the practice. He'd come to rely on their expertise and their judgment and trust them. And he didn't want to lose any of that. So if she felt like things had to happen a certain way, he was like, things have to happen a certain way. He wasn't really considering what that meant to everybody else, because they saw him favoring this person. They saw that this person didn't get in trouble for the things she did. And it kind of disengaged the rest of the team, because they're like, why should I try my hardest? And why should I try to get along with this person when, nobody's looking out for me? So we had to coach him through shifting his beliefs, right? That he thought this person would leave him, but he didn't really actually know. He never asked her. He just assumed. So we were able to get past that belief and then construct a conversation for him. So how to start the conversation with her so that she wouldn't be anxious and scared to sit down with him. How to start the conversation so he felt confident and he knew how he wanted the conversation to end. And then giving him the words, directly, sitting down together and figuring out, what are you going to say about this? And then giving him the pushback. So he would say X and I would pretend to be difficult. And I would give him a hard time and he would, be stalled or, get confused. And okay, that could happen. So let's figure out what you're going to say now, if that happens. So that he had a really good role-playing experience where he practiced saying all the words. He practiced when it went poorly. He practiced when it went well, so that he could go off and have that conversation with his seasoned teammate about her behavior and how she interacted with the rest of the staff. And then later on, I came in and sat down with that teammate and the new teammate, right? Removing him from the picture so that he could remain the neutral figure and I could sit down with them and then work out the details of why they weren't getting along and how to repair their relationship and what they wanted to do in terms of interacting with each other in the future. So it was kind of a two-part interaction, really getting the dentist up to speed and improving his communication skills and shifting his beliefs so he could be more confident, and then sitting down with the team members and actually helping them negotiate and navigate what their new relationship was going to be like. And happily, things work out.
That's great. That's great. So have you ever ran into a situation where, it was really, really, I'm not saying that piece that you just didn't suggest to us wasn't.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I've had the other thing too, which is, I think some of the tougher situations to deal with are bullying in the workplace.
Oh.
So, I've dealt with a team where folks decided for one reason or another, they did not like one team member and they collectively decided to mob them. And mobbing is a form of bullying where employees get together and collaborate to make the other person leave the practice, right? So it's not just one person being difficult with you, it's maybe 5 or 6 people who are giving you a hard time, they're withholding information, they're gossiping about you, just making a really toxic environment. Those are the toughest situations that I have to deal with because typically speaking, you need to remove the bully before you can reset the community to feel safe. And these days with the labor shortage, folks don't want to lose anybody. Right? So that was a tough situation where it didn't quite work out. I was able to empower the rest of the teammates to be assertive and speaking back. The one teammate be assertive and speaking back to the rest of the team when they were trying to bully her, but eventually she left because it's too hard to deal with that on a daily basis.
Yeah, I can see that. So you have all these personalities that you have to deal with, and everybody's got I mean, I don't know if you ever find this, but I would say there's got to be one or two ringleaders. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's following that one or two people, and I mean, it's almost like an apple in a bush. You get that one bad apple, and it just spreads. So I mean, like, is there like a technique or something
That's exactly
to
right.
identify that
So
person?
the bully, it manipulates a few people,
Yes,
right? Because they're good at manipulating, and they make those couple of people feel threatened.
yes,
So, if you don't join with me in
right,
bullying this person,
right.
well, you might be bullied because I
Mm,
now can't trust you. I asked you for help and you didn't give it to me. So
yeah,
that's how they sort of get the other people on board. That's
yeah,
kind of why the bully has to leave, right? Because they've learned, and I'm not trying to say the bully is intentionally bad. They've just learned poor skills. They've learned to use bullying and force as a means to get their way. And they don't
mm,
have any other tools. So unless you're willing to invest in helping them get those other tools, and they have to be willing too,
yes.
it's really not worth keeping them because they will cause more damage than it would cost to let them go to another opportunity and hire somebody else.
So now you have a bully that's an influencer, that's a key person in the office or key employee, and the CEO, president, or whomever has a serious problem on their hands.
Yeah, the dentist has a serious problem, and that's why it's important the dentist feels comfortable dealing with conflict. It's also the reason why it's important that, and this doesn't happen sometimes when you're beginning a new practice, that you think about what you want your culture to be like, and you
Yes,
set some expectations right from the beginning of how you want people to interact with each other. And that's
yes,
what didn't happen in this practice. Typically, what I see is dentists are like, "I'm nice. I'm going to
yes,
hire nice people."
right.
And that will be the it. That's how we'll get our community, our culture. But it's not that simple. You have to tell people what your values are and then explain how, on a day to day basis, you expect to see those values lived out. So, for example, respect. Everybody wants respect, right? Well, what does that look like on a daily basis? The dentist needs to figure out what that looks like and share it with his team and say, my definition of respect is X. I expect to see you do Y and Z on a daily basis with your teammates and patients because for me, that's what respect looks like. Now, I want to hear what you think it looks like too, because I want you to be comfortable, but I also want you to know this is the standard I want you to hit.
That's awesome. Yeah, laying that out gives them some type of roadmap to drive on, if you will. Uh,
Yeah.
and so, with that in mind, I'm wondering also if we come in with a laid out position as to how you want your employees or your team to function. I mean, with doing all of that, when is there ever time for the dentist to do what they worked all of their lives for?
It does seem like it's too much,
Huh?
right?
That
It
sounds
does
like a
seem like
lot.
it's a
Yeah.
lot. But here's the thing. I totally get that. It's busy. Dentistry is fast paced. You have
Mm,
a lot of balls in the air that you're juggling that's beyond the business, right?
mhm.
All the clinical stuff, all the compliance stuff that you have to pay attention to, all the marketing stuff. So dentists have a lot on their mind. And
Yes.
I understand why, building culture or community is not number one on the list. But it's the thing that's going to make your practice grow, be successful, and be long lasting if you can focus on getting your culture down. And it doesn't take that long to do it. I try to walk when I work with a dentist who doesn't have their culture in place. We try to walk through creating something I call their legend, which is the origin story of their practice. How did we get here? Why are we here? What are we trying to do? And the reason we walk through that is because it takes a little bit of time to think about what those things are and really get to the right answer. Everybody can get to a good answer at first, right? It's the top of the head answer. But you want to get to the deeper, real answer that you're going to live to every day. So we put that in a legend, and then the legend becomes a living document that you're sharing with, the new OM, the new dental hygienist, the new DA. So you don't have to remember what you said when you started the practice. You're just going to give them the legend and say, read the legend. This is who we are. This is what we expect.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that you get a consistent culture that continues to grow. Because when you get new people in, they bring new ideas. So you have to reassess. Do we like the way this person interacts with us? Is this bringing something us new that we need? If so, we might want to fold it into our legend. If not, we're going to show them a legend again and help them readjust.
I'd like to take a little time out to, I don't know, you're saying so much here. And with the dentist, they're always thinking about the bottom line. And you're coming in and you're just like, I not only have to stop and think about what I'm doing as a dentist, as an entrepreneur, but there's a chance I might lose some of the money that I could have made and I've not spent the time to do this. How do you show a dentist that they're not losing money? And you and I both know how much it costs to just replace one person, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs know as well, particularly in the dentist market. How do you show them, walk them through how important it is for them to, not only from a financial standpoint, but for a cultural standpoint, do this and get it done?
Yep, I hear you. You're saying, show me the money, Ward. And I can do that because it's important. It's real money that people are losing that they're not even aware of. So I have some stats. I'm going to just pull them up so I can read them for you.
Okay.
So suppose that you have a 15 practice DSO, right? Maybe you have like 225 employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so studies say that leaders spend about 3 hours a week dealing with workplace conflict. So you have those 15 locations. There's a practice leader and an office manager who are the folks who are likely to get the conflicts. They'd be involved in resolving conflict. That's 2 employees. That's 30 if you think of all your practices. So 30 people spending 3 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, that's 4,680 hours wasted. And because you're still dealing with employee issues, right? That loss, when you look at it in numbers, is about $140,000. Right? That's a lot of money. I think that's enough money to motivate somebody to want to go ahead and invest in an ombuds program that gives you a resource that's going to let your practice leader and your office manager focus on providing amazing patient care and not focus on some of the conflicts that you have going on. Folks that invest in the ombuds program save, for every dollar that you spend, you save $22 in savings, whether that's through reducing your turnover costs, reducing replacement costs, production hours going up and not down because you're not spending that time with employees. So there's real value in actually focusing on reducing the level of conflict in your practice because it has monetary value.
Ooh, right? Yes. And can you say that number again? I know we're having this tape, but can you say that number of the time it takes?
Yeah, for if you have two, just simple numbers, right? So if you have 2 employees, 2 people in your practice, that's you and maybe your office manager, Dealing with conflicts on a weekly basis, that's 6 hours gone every week. 6 hours. You multiply that by the 52 weeks of the year, assuming your practice is open all the weeks of the year. That's about almost 5,000, is it? No, 4,600 hours. So you're lost. The number is astronomical. And if you're just thinking about the 1 or 3 hours, that's not all the time you're spending because you're spending those 3 hours dealing with that problem, but you're also spending that time thinking about how am I going to deal with this problem. Maybe it's keeping you up at night. You're not able to focus on other things in the business because you're like, I'm still obsessed with how am I going to deal with this issue. So it's not just the 3 hours, it's actually more than that. And then, of course, replacement costs. The SHRM, Society of Human Resource Professionals, says it's between 50% and 200% of salary to replace somebody. I usually round it down to 1.5. So it's 1.5 of the salary to replace them, but that doesn't account for the opportunity cost, right? When you
Yes,
don't have that person, you're
right,
losing money because
right.
you don't have that
That's
productivity.
right. That's right. That's so right.
So people are like, well, I'm not going to bother dealing with putting systems in place to deal with conflict because how expensive could it be? Very expensive.
Right. That is so true. That is so true. So then, wow. I mean, how do you catch people in the, I mean, like, I know, I would think that the word would have to get out there before people, like the newbies. I mean, like, catch these youngsters that's coming into the field and make sure that they don't pick up any bad habits. And I spoke to many dentists many times on many occasions where they said, well, we're a bit heady in the beginning, to put it mildly, so we don't really need that, right? I mean, so if you can catch them, I like I don't know, they have so much work to do in school, but catch them somewhere to help them understand that this is such a vital piece of the puzzle. And if you plan to make it big, let's cut this stuff out before we even get there.
When you're starting a business, it's really hard because you have a lot of things to focus on, and you think eventually you're going to get to it, but then you never do. Then you run into problems, and then you're like, how do I solve these? So, yes, I encourage emerging DSOs to really think about, focus on what kind of community they want to build. And you notice I say community, I don't say culture. Nobody decides in the morning when they wake up, I want to join a culture. They
Right.
decide, I want to join a community. I want to be with other like minded people.
Well, yes, absolutely.
That's what I want folks to sort of make the shift.
Okay.
Don't necessarily think about building a culture. Think about what kind of community you want to build.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be a long, involved process. It can be shorter. You can do it in spurts, but you can't avoid doing it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with something that's unwieldy. And as you grow, it gets worse, right? Because as you add that extra practice that you acquired, if you don't understand your community, how can you bring them into that, right?
That's so true. That's so true. Everybody's going in like the Tower of Babel. If you got that going on, then you're gonna have that. You're gonna have that. That would be, yeah, I can see that being a problem. So
Right?
yeah.
So every time you bring on a new acquisition or you do de novo and you start a new site, you have to be able to integrate those people into your community. If you don't have one, then you get this little
Yes.
pieces all over the place.
Yes.
Some work, some don't. People
Yes.
get confused, they
Yes.
get angry, they get frustrated, and then they're really not working for you.
Mm.
Right? They're
Mm.
really not focusing on your goals. They're just trying to get through the day.
That's a good point. If a person's coming in and start working for a company and they come in with their own set of values, they are not working for you.
Nope.
They're working for themselves and whomever else they were working for before then. They're bringing on someone else's, if you will, community instead of
Joining
understanding
your
yeah, joining your community.
right? You want people to join your community. You want them to be like-minded. And this is not to say that everybody should be the same, because I
Right,
absolutely don't think that's useful at all. We
right,
need
right.
lots of different voices and people who think differently than we do to get a great outcome.
You're
You know
right.
how people are like, you're a Debbie Downer, you're the one that's always
Yes,
complaining. And
yes.
sometimes I've worked with practices where they're like, this person always says, yeah, but, or no, we're not gonna. And I understand how frustrating that is. And at the same time, you have to embrace that person because they are trying to bring something, a different perspective to what you're trying to do. They're not trying to block you. In some ways, they're actually trying to be helpful because they notice that there's an issue. And what they're not skilled at is how to share the issue in a positive way so everybody can join in and talk about it. They're just negative about it, which people get frustrated. But that doesn't mean that their idea or the thing they're trying to bring across is flawed. It just means their ability to bring it out is flawed. But you still need that perspective, right? So
Absolutely.
you don't want everybody to be the same, but you
No.
want everybody to feel like they are seen, heard, valued, and celebrated. People who are happy at work stay longer in their jobs. They're more loyal. Your value, your EBITDA actually goes up when you keep your team. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah. According to those numbers you just shared with us, man, I would say so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's worth doing. It's a little bit of work. You have to actually put in some thinking. I know that's hard, but it's so worth doing. And I love helping people install the ombuds programs because they change the quality. It's a transformative experience. It changes the quality of the practice. It becomes a much more collaborative and cooperative practice when people know they have a safe place to talk about what issues they have at work and they have a safe expert to help them think about the options, brainstorm. Very often I'm talking to people and they're like, I never thought of it that way.
Right.
I was
Yes.
just blaming this person because I was mad, but I never thought that this might be the reason why they're acting that way or that I actually caused them to act that way.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
really useful to have those skills in place in your team because Lord knows you need it with the team, but you need it with your patients too, right?
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And having people uh, come in with an understanding that this is the way we do things here, but yet they're going to give me an opportunity to express some things. If I don't agree with them, I'm not going to be called a villain, uh,
Yep,
consequence. I mean, that is super important because in fact, if we don't listen to something that's different than what we were thinking, how are we going to grow and develop?
exactly. Exactly. We need a lots of different opinions. People have different skills. Maybe someone on your team is better at building rapport than you do, and you need that, right? You have to sort of try to understand your best skills from your team, what they're really good at, and integrate that into your practice. And you're not going to find those things out unless you talk to people and ask questions and have regular meetings. One of the things I encourage dentists to do is have what I would call a series of 5 conversations throughout the year that really give you a chance to sit down with someone, find out how they're doing. Are you meeting their career goals? You have a career goal and they're helping you meet it, but are you helping them meet their career goals? That causes a lot of conflict when people don't feel like they have room to grow or that someone's trying to mentor them. That's what people want. And so you have to make the time to have those conversations and actually, dare I say it, care about me.
Woo, yes. That is so funny. That is so true. I was going to ask you, how can you harness it? But you right ahead of me. How do you harness this problem? Because that's the problem, trying to get people to, like, I mean, like, not, I mean, like, okay, you could disagree, and you can disagree with the person that's disagreeing. But then that could really just mushroom into something that could be bigger than what you were trying to get settled in the first place. So I'm just like wondering, I was wondering how do you just like put things package it in a way? I mean, I guess it would never be really, really packaged, but how do you approach it in a way that it's not going to spend all of the time that you have to, to resolve this? I mean, you're getting away from what you're trying to do in the first place, I would think.
Yeah, I think the number one thing I ask people to do is be curious.
Yeah.
Ask questions and ask better questions.
Mm, mm,
Often we are assuming we know what people think, we know what
yes,
people feel, we know why they do things based on our past experiences.
exactly.
May or may not include that other person. There's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with asking someone, hey, I noticed you did X, Y, Z, and I was curious about why that happened.
Hmm.
No, without any and I didn't like it or any judgment around it. Just asking, just tell me about how you think about that, right? So that you can get a better understanding of where their head is at. And maybe they're going to ask you, why? Well, I notice when you do X, Y, and Z, it causes Susan to do A, B, and C. And the impact of that is that we get behind on the schedule. And that means that patients wait and they're uncomfortable with that because they're already uncomfortable being here with us at the dentist. So I want to understand why you were thinking that and how can we understand your needs and you understand ours so we get to a place where we're working together well.
And how long? I know you said a number, five, at least five times a year with one idea. How often overall do you think someone like you need to be involved with a company that you've laid out some structure to, and they're following your lead on this? And how often do you think you guys have to, or that group has to get in front of everybody, or get in front of to gather uh, as a community and start expressing themselves to the point where it's going to make things better as we move forward?
Okay. I hear two questions in that word, which is, what's ombud services like? And then how should dentists be bringing their community together on a regular basis?
Mm,
I think you should be meeting with your community on a quarterly basis for sure.
okay.
Sure, because things move fast, things change, and you want to, one, update them on where the practice is going, right? You want
Mhm,
to make sure they're excited about the next steps you're going to take, but you
mhm,
also want to use that time to find out what is happening with them. Are there obstacles for them that you could be removing? Are there new ideas that they have that they want to try that they haven't felt comfortable maybe coming to you, or there
mhm.
just hasn't been time? So you
Very.
want to use that meeting really to reset your community. How are we doing? What could we be doing better? How are we interacting with each other? Do we need some new people? Bring in some new energy or new skills, right? So that's a quarterly conversation you're having. When someone invests in an ombuds program, typically it's for an 18-month period. And what happens is that every month, they have access to me as their ombuds to come and talk to me about any issues they have going on. So maybe it's the dentist practice owner who's talking to me about something that's going on with him that he wants to change. Maybe it's the OM who is feeling like I don't quite have a grip on leading, the rest of the team. Maybe it's two teammates who say, we're not getting along. We need to sit down with Dina and work this out. And then we have a monthly relationship where they have a number of hours that we work through, but it's ongoing support, which is what I think makes the difference. It's not like a one and done. So some of those HR companies, they come in and, they're looking at leadership and they give you the training and then they're out. And so I always feel like that's kind of unsatisfying because after you've had training, there's going to be questions. There's going to be things that don't quite go. that people don't understand or they don't practice. And so you need to have ongoing support. And that's one of the things that ombuds programs offer to people.
Yeah, you need that repetition. That's the only way you're going to learn. I mean, you're not going to just jump up and say, okay, I got it. No, I don't know how many times I have to read a book to really get the essence of it, you know? Totally with you on that. Getting, like you, I mean, Tiger Woods, I don't know how many coaches he had, but when he was really in there, I mean, he had coaches,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Michael Jordan has coach, Kobe has coaches.
No,
Warren
don't leave out
Gretzky, I'm
Superman.
sure he had coaches.
Yeah,
I mean, all of these great people, that really did well with what I mean. Warren Buffett had a coach, has coaches. I mean, like people. I mean, you can go on with names after name after name after name,
right,
and these
right.
people have coaches to help them through certain areas where they're not so good at. You know?
That's exactly. I don't know if you watched the Summer Olympics, um, but Noah Lyles, there was a special on TV talking about his journey to the Olympics. And literally, he had a coach for every part, running coach. He had a physical coach for his physique. He had a mental coach. There's nothing wrong with getting coaching. If you want to be successful at what you want to achieve, you need to have people assist you. And it's just as
Hmm.
simple as that.
Hmm. Hmm. And like we don't know everything. By inserting someone that has more information on how to do a particular skill set, I mean, I think that just makes things a lot easier. I keep
Well, it
saying,
makes a lot of sense, and it's already something that's familiar to dentists, right?
right.
Dentists do CE all the time, right?
Mm,
Consider this another extension of your learning, right? You're
mm,
improving your clinical skills,
mm,
learning how to manage conflict is just increasing your management skills.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And behavior is right up there on the top, huh?
It is
Right
right
up,
up there.
not too far from money, not too much, not too far from revenue. I mean, how much, I mean, am I going to actually spend? You better be thinking about your community, right?
You better be if you'd like to make the big bucks and grow. The people who are going to help make that happen is your community. And if you can help them understand how to interact with each other and deal with conflict at the lowest level, because I'm always trying to get people to deal with it at the lowest level. I don't necessarily want to have the dentist involved all the time. I
Mm,
want to have the team understand conflict management skills and how to ask questions and how to listen and how to negotiate options themselves. So they don't need to go to the dentist. They can do it by themselves. Now, if things don't go right or they need more help, yeah, they can reach out to the dentist who can reach out to me. But the goal is to get them skilled up to do it by themselves.
So is there a certain like list of questions that you use, a certain word set that you use when you're educating people on how to communicate better, I mean, effectively in the workplace?
Yeah, I think there's lots of different skill sets that come into play. One skill set that I'm always encouraging people to focus on is emotional intelligence. And really, emotional intelligence is being able to manage, be aware of, and manage your own emotions, and being able to be aware of and manage the emotions of others, right? That's kind of the bottom line. If you don't understand what ticks you off and drives you into a rage or makes you judgmental, you're going to have those behaviors and you're going to get the consequences you get.
Oh.
But when you understand, oh, you know what? I'm really someone who believes in hard work. And I think hard work looks like this. And if I don't see my team doing that, I get upset. I have to think about it. Am I being wrong about that? Am I judging them too harshly? Have I explained that that's my standard? Those are the kinds of things that, if you're asking yourself those questions, you tend to stay out of trouble. So I'm always wanting to have everybody on the team really increase their emotional intelligence. And it actually makes sense. Did you know that when you have high emotional intelligence, you earn just under $30,000 more a year?
Oh, wow.
And that's because your listening skills are improved. People who are good listeners are usually very successful, right? Because not only are they hearing the words that come out of your mouth, they're looking at your face because 70% of our communication is nonverbal.
Mm.
So you can't just listen to the words and get the message. You have to listen to it all. And when you have high emotional intelligence, you're listening to it all. You know how to read the room. You know how to understand where somebody is in their journey. Join them there and redirect them to something better.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. I mean, like this is really, really, really good information. So tell me now, what would if you were to go back 30 years from now, I mean 30 years to the day,
Yeah.
what would the 30-year practice owner, ombuds person say to the first year you?
So what would I be saying to me my first year practicing as ombuds?
Yes.
You don't have to fix everything, right? I think that's
That
for
is
ombuds, that's the problem.
very
We
good
we
advice.
love to help and we love to help fix, but truly it's not our job to fix things. It's our job to point out how things can be fixed and what needs to be fixed,
Oh, that's very important.
right? And so in the early part of my career, I was just like, I want to fix everything. I see these issues you have. Let's get it done. And I'd be all invested, which is great.
Mhm.
But other person would not be as invested. They would actually delegate their responsibilities to me because I was excited. And I had to learn as an ombuds to be like, no, here is the boundary. That's the other thing I want people to learn is how to set boundaries and what a boundary really is. A boundary is not something that you're telling somebody else not to do. A boundary is what you're telling yourself you are going to do if certain things happen. And so I had to learn how to set some boundaries with myself. Like, you are not going to be taking on the role of fixing things in your clients' practices. You are going to be taking on the role of coaching your clients to fix those things and helping them get to a better place. If I do it, it's just done. Nobody learns anything.
So true. That's so true. That's so true. You're not flying. You're dead in the nest.
But
Yeah.
you to learn how to do it and feel
Yeah.
happy doing it. And can I just tell you this, Ward, that I know people might not believe this, but when you become really conflict ready and very competent, your life changes and you become a very positive person. And the reason is you are no longer bothered by things that come up. I'll tell you a quick story. I was coming back from Florida on a Sunday where it's time to be traveling, and the plane got delayed 20 minutes. Nobody cared because we were all having a vacation and we were laughing. Well, the plane got delayed again an hour. People were concerned, but they were still okay. Then we got an announcement saying the plane was delayed, no time added to that. People lost their minds. They were yelling, screaming, just really causing an uproar. So much so that the gate attendant had to call security to come. It was that bad. And there I was looking around thinking, let's assess this situation. What's happening? People are angry. The gate attendant is scared. There's no information. People are just dumping on them. No one's helping. Right? Okay, that's me using my emotional intelligence and deciding, okay, how can I interact differently in this situation to get a different outcome? So people are online trying to get rebooked onto other planes to go out. And I get up there and I don't ask for anything. What I say to them is, I see how hard you are working. I am so sorry that people don't have the wherewithal to be compassionate with you and see that you are doing the best thing that you could be doing. I wish that there was something I could do for you that would make this better. And all I can really do is tell you that I see you smiling and doing the best job that you can do. Well, guess who got a hotel voucher and about food voucher for the next day.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody else got that. But I got it because I was willing to look at the situation, assess, not demand something that I needed, but attend to their needs, right? Help them feel seen, help them feel celebrated in that moment. And
Mm.
as a result, I got something good for me, right? And so that's really for me like a demonstration of why bother with all these skills? It helps your real life, right? I could have been angry and upset like everybody else and slept in the airport like most people did. But I
Mhm.
had the wherewithal and the skills to, let's take a different route.
And what better way to end our conversation and with that word of wisdom? I mean, those words of wisdom. I mean, I really appreciate you coming in and sharing with us. I'm sure this could have went another hour. Uh, and share with us your information, the information that's that helps offices be happy offices. You want to
Yes,
put happy smiles on people's faces, you got to start with a smile, right?
we do. We want some happy teams make higher value. So yes,
Right.
happy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming in and spending time and sharing this wonderful information with our community of the Wealthy Dentist Podcast. Love to see you soon, and we're definitely glad to have you today.
Well, thank you so much, Board, for having me. Talking about conflict management and ombuds programs is my favorite topic to talk about. If folks want to get a guide on how to have those feedback conversations, they're welcome to jump by my website, Happy Practice Consulting, and download my Let's Talk guide, which gives you a 4-step formula for how to start having a feedback conversation and how to make sure that it ends so that you get things fixed without ruining relationships.
That's great. That's wonderful. Is there an email address that you can share with?
Sure, people can reach me at hello@happypracticeconsulting.com. My website again is happypracticeconsulting.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm always there posting and interacting with people, and I love to connect.
That's for sure. Thanks again here.
Thank you, Ward.